Well, I was.
Family and things
I
like
had
that?
one brother and one sister. Right in the middle, I was between them. And I had just started out Northeast Junior College at the time when the war broke out. I decided that's where I was going. Tried to join. They wouldn't let me in until my birthday. The 18th birthday was February 19th, and I got in then. But I quit as soon as the war broke out in December 7th.
What did you think about Pearl Harbor being attacked? What was your reaction to that? Where were you?
I was here in Monroe, and in fact, I was walking down the street close to my house when somebody told me about it. And I said, well, it's time to defend our country, so I'm ready. And really, I was kind of young and dumb. Wanted some adventure. I'd been reading about it all my life, and I'd read all kinds of stories about Indian wars and other wars, and I rose up with a rifle shooting, squirrel hunting and whatnot, ever since I was a 10-year-old.
So you were used to having a firearm in your
Oh,
hands?
it was just second nature to me to shoot a gun, really.
Did you have any siblings when you were growing up, or you were only child?
No, I said I have a brother and a
Oh,
sister.
you did. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Well, you mentioned just a second ago that you tried to join the Marine Corps.
Well, I found out abnormal color perception. I'd never had an idea before that, and found it out, and they wouldn't accept you with abnormal color perception.
Why did you want to join the Corps?
Well, they'd take you when you're 17.
Oh. So you just wanted to fight.
The first one.
Just wanted to get in there and fight. Well, I guess you joined the Army after the Corps turned down because of your
I was,
colorblindness.
and the Army didn't care if you're colorblind or not. In fact, they told me that they probably had a use for you in observation planes because normal camouflage doesn't work against you like it would people with normal eyesight and normal color perception.
Really?
But that didn't ever pan out. I just volunteered for the paratroops, and they took me in.
So you went straight into the Army and you volunteered straight off of the paratroops?
Well, in fact, I sort of enlisted before I went to take basic training. I was signed up for the paratroops.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Why did you join? And this is something I ask every paratrooper, because I mean, you know,
I thought
jumping out of a perfectly good airplane is not something most people do.
Every young dumb man wants to prove himself, so he's as good or better than any of the rest of them, and that get in on the action. I think most of them are that way.
And everybody knew at that time that the paratroopers were the...
Now, in fact, there was an article paper. I was the first one accepted directly in the paratroops from Monroe.
Really?
Uh-huh. They had a little article in the paper said that.
Okay.
I didn't know it till they got the paper.
When was this?
Well,
roughly.
I enlisted on my 18th birthday, February 19th, 42, I think it was. And went to Beauregard, got enlisted. I mean, that's where they give me shots and all that stuff. And then went to Camp Walters, Texas for basic training. And from there went to Fort Benning, Georgia. Came right through Monroe on the train, and I couldn't get off a train. It stopped for an hour, and I couldn't get off, couldn't call anybody. That was, in 13 weeks, that's the longest I've ever been away from home.
That must have been tough sitting at that train station so close.
Yeah, especially when it's hot and smoke, it'll send us from that old train, that old cold burning train, all down your neck. I'll tell you, it wasn't comfortable.
What did your mom and pop think about when you told them that you were joining the Army and especially joining the paratroopers?
Well, they said if that's what you want, go toward it. And that's what I wanted.
Did you have any sweethearts, any girlfriends?
Oh yes, sure
What did
did.
they think about when you joined the Army?
Well,
Or she?
she didn't think much about it one way or the other. That's what I wanted to do, so it was all right with her. Strange thing, when I got leave home too, she come from New York. She's up in Rochester. She come north to see me. And on the way home, she met a guy on the train. And by the time I got there, well, we wasn't ready to get married, I thought. But the guy she met on the train, she married afterwards. He died this last year. Sure did. And she told that she told that story to people down there. In fact, she said she came down here to marry me, And I didn't know anything about that part of it. That would have been news to me. I don't doubt what that she had in mind.
So you get over to your paratrooper training. Tell me about your training in the paratrooper.
Oh, it was their best to make you quit. At that time, they didn't want anybody that couldn't do anything better and more than anybody else. And we'd go in the first row in there, them guys leaving training and getting through, they'd say, "You'll be sorry." They'd all holler that at us. But we stuck with it. Got my swings, and then when they'd been over in the Alabama area, and they would jump into the frying pan into the fire. It was hotter and dustier, and we had old perimeter tents over there is all we had. Just a shower once in a while.
Tell me about your first jump.
The first jump on Transcurion, wasn't much to it, the first few jumps. In fact, jumping out of that 30-foot tower out there, looking at the ground right there was scarier to me than jumping out of them airplanes. It sure did. And
I guess when you were up in that airplane, it was do or die. You're up there, you might
no,
as well go.
it was kind of enjoyable to jump into the heat and the rest of the stuff. Yeah. And you jump out there and that parachute opened, you're floating down pretty good. That was enjoyable. Didn't hit the ground too hard.
Well, what kind of other training did you guys do for the paratroops? Anything specialized? For you, for instance,
well,
you said you had the sniper rifle.
Well, you know, the ones that scored best at the rifle range, they decided they'd make snipers out of them, and they issued us those rifles, and we went out and had instruction for a couple of days, and after that they told us to check in and get all the ammunition we want to shoot and go to the rifle range and split up. Some of them go out there and spot targets, and the rest of them shoot. And that's all we did for about 2 weeks. Just go out, just pick up ammunition, go out there and shoot. We'd hold them spotters up, you know, you're supposed to mark where you hit and all that. Try to shoot them while they're moving and that kind of stuff. And just learn to shoot our rifle.
Must have been pretty good after sitting out there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we could, you know, different ranges. Of course, we didn't have over 500-yard range there. And we'd start at 300, go to 500, and just moving around like that. And we knew where the rifle was going to hit. And like I always said, if I can see it, I can hit it. And you could just about, if it's sitting still.
Got four power scope.
Yeah, 4-power scope, a little small. The people nowadays wouldn't even put it on their gun. But.
Well, after your basic paratrooper training, after you've been qualified as airborne, where did you go from there?
Fort Bragg.
You went to Fort Bragg. And what went on there?
Well, we did problems, field marches, and 20-mile full-back marches, and a little everything. Just learn how to use our weapons and distant tactics, and how to give signals and get along together, stuff like that. We were amazed. Our company was pretty lucky, and they had a G company. They were a bunch of Yankees. We'd go out there in that snow, and it'd get cold. We'd build us up a nice bonfire and have it going there. And they had old soggy log stuff. Couldn't even catch them on fire. They didn't know anything. They were good, close drill and everything. Boy, they were good at that kind of stuff. But they'd win most competition stuff. But they didn't know how to take care of themselves.
Bunch of Yankees, huh? Well, did you feel, and I didn't ask you this, and I wish I had at the time, and you can chime in, of course. Did you feel that the training that you guys got in the beginning, was that sufficient? When you finally got into combat, did you think that the training you received was
I sure do. I think it was very good, very sufficient. Of course, none of them had been in this kind of combat. They couldn't tell us the particulars, like, you know, how to work, you know, how to do on patrols. And they didn't tell you, like the first people we run into, every time you stop, you dig a hole and dig it deep, and things like that. And never shoot a gun standing up or sitting down if you can lay down. I mean, you got your chance of getting shot down to about 1/10 as much if you lay down, and you get steadier shot too. So.
So, where did you guys ship out from?
Up around Cape Cod. Then I think it went overseas on the USS George Washington, and it took 3 weeks to get to North Africa. Landed at Casablanca.
That's a long
ride.
A
long convoy. They were zigzagging. There was worlds other troop ships and Liberty ships and, of course, cruisers.
What do you remember of your ride overseas in that ship? What did you guys do?
we didn't feel too good, and we had a few games like you push that little puck with a stick. I don't know what they called it.
Shuffleboard?
Shuffleboard, and tossed that little rubber ring around a little bit. And other than that, we didn't do much anything, play cards.
Lay around and feel seasick. Huh?
Yeah, well, it was uncomfortable most places. With much, if we could, we'd get up on deck where we get some fresh air. And when it got rough, you go down to the latrine and it was washing all back and forth down there. And if you wasn't sick, you could go get that way.
If you weren't sick and you wanted to, just go down to the bathroom, go down to the latrine. Jeez.
And that fish, they said it was, oh, it was awful.
Ooh, man. Yeah. So, what was North Africa like? Tell me what North Africa was like.
It was just a new world. And we went through there, and it's just, I think you run into a lot like that when you go to the poor sections of Mexico now. They're just little kids running around begging, and other people, and they try to beat you out of anything they could. And you couldn't go in one of them shops and they have a price on something, you couldn't buy it for that. You had to bargain with them. If you tried to pay them that, they'd double the price. You had to bargain. They would not. Just it's a price. That's it. You had to bargain.
Okay.
And they told us if you have to kill a child or a kid, it'd cost you about $10. But if you get a donkey, it's $300. I mean, that's how much value they put on human life over there. And they're just different people. Different. I know. You'd go out when we was out there, and they'd come out and them children rent your horses. And one time they'd rent my horse, and then like in the States, you rent a horse, don't run it, don't run it. First thing you want is to get on another and race you. And I felt something one time. The little boy run along, he'd done picking stuff out of my pocket. And the guy run along by. But you know, we'd been told, which they're afraid of cold steel. They don't. You put a gun on them, it don't scare them hardly. But you pull a bayonet or a knife out. And they'd been told that, so I had a bayonet, and I pulled that bayonet out, and he started handing that stuff back to me. But that was a strange thing. And we'd travel over there, like when we got on those trains, you'd be out, heck, you could see for miles, couldn't see a thing. You stopped, and they looked like they'd come out of the ground trying to sell you oranges or trade you out of something. Oh, it was miserable, though.
So what did you guys do over there? Besides
that's about it. Well,
civilian population.
Well, we trained, man. We had to train a lot, and just made several practice jumps. And I know one time, well, I had a little problem in town. I wouldn't agree what they did, and some fresh lieutenant was taking over afternoon. We was going down to make a jump. And he had me double time up and back and forth in the middle of that hot African sun. And when Captain Bach got back and heard about it, he transferred that lieutenant out. He said anybody hadn't had any more sense than that, even if I'd been guilty of anything, which I wasn't. What it was I'd gone to one of these GI houses, you know, of a real repute, and you had to go in pairs. And I at the time, I was young as that, I wouldn't go. I sat outside. My buddy went in, and they wanted me to take one of them prophylactics. I said, I ain't gonna do it. I done seen pictures how you gonna tell you how they gonna do that to you. I said, they ain't gonna do that to me. And that's what they had, that lieutenant had reported me. And he had me running back and forth. That's terrible. Well, the incident there one time, they had what they called those guys go to town, drink that crazy wine, I guess at bathtub gin or something. And he come back one day and started throwing hand grenades. Everybody. Of course, we all had pup tents, and we'd hit them foxhole side. We'd jump in and roll over in them foxholes till he got it run out of hand grenades. Next day, old boy come back. He'd done pulled the powder out of a grenade and everything. And he went up to the MCEOs were in that perimeter tent playing cards. And he pulled a pin on that and threw it in there. Said, "I got you now, you so." They tore that perimeter tent down getting out of there. Especially, you know, it's been so bad except that guy had been throwing grenades the day before all over the place. But I went to town there one time, Woosdah, I think it was, and rented a horse from one of them Arabs and went down. I ate some stuff in there. Oh, I didn't realize it made me sick. I rode that horse and he laid down on me halfway back to camp. I had to lead him the rest of the way. But I woke up the next morning. We had to go out on a project, one of them wagon wheel projects where we'd all jump and make that thing have camouflage, and then they was gonna fly over and see how well we did. I woke up in there. They said I was throwing up and flipping like a fish, and there was somebody sitting on me holding my head back while I was throwing up. I was sick from all that mess I'd eat down there. It kind of messed up their camouflage and trying to take care of me. Wasn't very pleasant.
Well, what did you know about the coming action in Sicily, about the jumps in Sicily? What did they tell you? Anything?
Oh, well, it didn't turn out like they planned it. They made that sand table and laid it off exactly where we were going to jump, and there's a sniper where I was going to be, and all this kind of stuff. And well, anyway, somewhere or another, they got the pilot. We got scattered, and a little anti-aircraft flying here and there and everything. And the first thing you know, they stand up, and hook up, and then jump. We jumped, and boy. It was just I don't know, everything just quiet all at once, just like you was drifting in a new world there. Hit the ground.
Did you guys get shot at by the fleet coming over?
There was a lot of, it wasn't the fleet, no. We went the first, we were the first bunch in with 505. We were ex-battalion 505, 3rd Battalion was. And we went jump 505 on the first night. And there was a lot of anti-aircraft fire, but we didn't get hit, and I don't know who it was. We could see them tracers just going every which way. And anyway, we got together, about 5 or 6 of us got together there right after we jumped. First thing the next morning, we didn't know where in the heck we were. We started out somewhere, and we looked over there, and there was a few tents and some couple of trucks, some guys over there, and this khaki-looking clothes just like we wore. And we didn't know. We started going over there toward them, creeping over and looking, be careful. We didn't know what the heck. All at once they looked up and saw us, started spouting German and running toward their vehicles. Well, they're Germans, so we started shooting, and a few of them started shooting back. The rest of them run off over the hill, and we went over there and we'd killed 2 or 3 of them. One of them was badly wounded there, and took one prisoner. And about a little minute later, here come back over the hill. Here come a whole bunch of them shooting at us. So one guy got in the truck and got it started. We got in that truck, hauled out away from them, because they had us, man, we didn't know.
How many of you guys were there?
About 7 or 8, I think, at the time. I can't remember exactly. That's about all, about 7 or 8 of us. And we weren't the same. Some of them was in another platoon or company or something. We weren't all at our regular squad. We got scattered.
So when you guys landed that night, you were scattered all over the place.
Yep. And we got in that truck, and I was sitting on that left front fender, and we were shooting back at them like that cowboy and Indian stuff, and they were shooting at us. And they shot one through there, and the little hot radiator water was hitting me on the leg. About that time, he run off the road and put me up against a cactus bed. There he was, gunning it, trying to get loose, and Sergeant Brady had to get out and point his gun at him and make him quit that so I could get off that gum truck. So we got off, took that prisoner with us a little ways, and we said, well, what are we going to do with him? So I took a watch off of him and turned him loose. He said, oh, no, when they took his watch, but I wasn't a cheap watch anyway. And we took on off, and for the next couple of days, we'd hear some fire, and we'd go looking for the fight, and we knew what direction jailer was supposed to be in, and we headed that direction, and where we'd hear some shooting, well, we'd go that way. And we come up on one guy's heat of fire, and he was out of our company, and he had got shot right in the chest. And you could see one of the 30 caliber shells right there. And I couldn't understand, because he was also, he had a penetrating wound. And we carried him, man. People talk about how many miles they carry somebody. We carried him a few miles. We made a makeshift stretcher. And it wasn't too many miles we carried him. We finally got to an Italian house there that people were real nice, and they could take care of him there. So we left him there and going. We couldn't. They could do better, treat him better than we could. Yeah. Eventually, the Germans took him prisoner there, though, and he did get back to our unit. Peter fired him.
He did. He got back to you.
He got back to our unit later on.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was surprised. I thought he was probably going to die, but he yeah, well.
When did he get back?
Oh, it was probably 6 months later. Later on there.
So you guys were in Italy when he got back?
Yeah.
Well, when did you finally, or did you finally hook up with your with H Company with the rest?
Yeah,
of the
first we got to join the bunch of us on a sort of a castle on a hill, and there was a lot of fighting, a lot of firing going up there. So we went there and joined in with them.
Was that Castle Nocera?
I think that's the one they found. We didn't know the name of it, and but we dug in around it. That's and later on the next day, they had determined going to be and tried to go down that road and come by us down there, and we ambushed them and we killed a lot of them. And I was scared to death that them tanks were going to come up that hill. Found out later they couldn't climb a hill that steep, but they could fire up that way. That's.
So that was just a mixed bag of different guys up there?
Yep.
All kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
Whoever, just like us, the ones that got scattered, they'd hear the fire and say, well, that's where we're supposed to be. And they got that, and finally. And from then we got, after we had got through that battle, the armored, I think, came up behind them from Jailer. And we reorganized and went patrolled the Sicilian border all around that side, and scouting down and patrolled and captured pillboxes or run into some of them, and they'd run into us and have just small firefights. Never did get a major battle along that, and I never did get into a major battle along that. It was just kind of guerrilla type warfare. And I guess that's where I'd get known pretty good, because I'd go up there and them guys say, well, we can ambush them from here. And I say, yeah, where are we gonna go if too many of them show up? I'm looking for a way back in case, which it pays off. Sure. If you that kind of warfare, I'd read a lot of that stuff, and and figured, and so that's what I did. And from then on, if there's any patrolling or outposting, that's mostly what I did all through the war. But we went on around until finally we had our part done, and then they loaded up on their boats and went to Italy.
Well, at that castle, tell me a little bit about that fighting at that castle in Sicily.
I don't know exactly how much fighting had done before we got there, who all was there, but I believe it was the next morning. I had that's where I had that trench knife. I had all figured I'd go shoot as long as I could.